As you settle in for the night, let the flickering shadows of your room fade, and allow your mind to drift gently, backwards in time, not to the age of shining knights in polished armor, nor to the grand feasts of noble courts, but to the far less glamorous corners of the medieval world. Tonight, we will walk together through the grimy streets, step into the unwashed garments of the past, and quietly explore the forgotten, unspeakable world of medieval hygiene. But don't worry, we'll move slowly, softly, and together. Breathe in and out. And now, dear listener, let the past cradle your thoughts. Before we begin, tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it there? Imagine waking up on a straw mattress. Your blanket is a coarse woolen cloth, damp from the night air, itchy from use. The room smells of smoke, sweat, and something else, something always lingering. You shift to sit up. The rushes scattered across the floor are not just for warmth. They hide the filth, food scraps, flea droppings, bits of yesterday's waste. You step barefoot onto the straw, and something squishes beneath your heel. It's morning in a medieval village. There is no concept of morning breath, because nobody expects your breath to smell good. There is no brushing of teeth, no splash of cold water, no fresh towel to pat your face. If you are lucky, there's a wooden bucket outside, filled with murky water drawn from the well. You dip your hands in. The chill wakes you. You splash it on your face, rub your eyes, and wipe your hands on your clothes. That's your entire morning routine. There is no soap. Soap did exist, of course, but it was harsh, made with lye and animal fat. It stung your skin, it smelled rancid, and it was expensive. Common folk didn't use it. Instead, people rubbed their skin with cloth or sand. They believed in scraping off dirt, not killing germs, because they didn't know germs existed. And so, the day begins, with stale breath, oily hair, and layers of yesterday still clinging to your skin. But no, one judges you, because they're the same. Everyone is. Step outside your home, and the world opens in a waft of smells. Smoke from hearth fires, the sharp tang of animals, and something else. A mix of rot and life. The street is not paved. It's mud in the spring, dust in the summer, and ice in the winter. There is no sewage system. Instead, people empty their chamber pots into the street. Sometimes they shout first, "Gardyloo." Sometimes they forget. You step carefully, avoiding piles and puddles. But sometimes you slip. In towns, pigs wander freely. They are the medieval garbage collectors. They eat everything, including human waste, but they also leave their own behind. The streets are layered with filth, old straw, and the memories of thousands of steps. No one cleans it daily. No one can. And yet, people walk these streets in open shoes, in bare feet. Children play here. Merchants sell food here. Midwives help women give birth here. There are no gloves, no masks, no sanitizer. There is only the hope that the smell won't linger and that death won't come too soon. Today we wash our hands to remove invisible dangers. But in the Middle Ages, people didn't believe in germs, they believed in bad air or miasma. They thought disease came from foul smells, so they carried posies of herbs in their pockets. They burned incense to purify the room. They did not wash to cleanse bacteria. They washed to feel refreshed or to prepare for prayer to bathe. Meant to be soft, spiritual, or symbolic. In some towns, public bathhouses existed. People would sit together in warm wooden tubs, talking and laughing. But these were rare and short-lived. As disease spread, plague, leprosy, dysentery, the church began to fear these places. They were seen as dens of sin, of immorality, of lust, and slowly they disappeared. Washing became not just rare, but suspicious. A clean body might signal vanity or heresy. Now, let us turn our attention to the mouth, the gateway to nourishment and disease. In medieval Europe, teeth were not brushed. There were no toothbrushes, no floss, no dental rinses, only rudimentary toothpicks made of bone or wood. When teeth hurt, people chewed herbs, sage, mint, fennel, hoping to ease the pain. When teeth rotted, they fell out, and no one was surprised. A blackened grin was ordinary. A foul breath was nothing strange. And for those with wealth, there were powders made of crushed oyster shells and or burnt bread, abrasive and harsh but believed to whiten. Yet whitening did not mean clean. It meant appearing noble. Some women dyed their teeth with charcoal for fashion. Some chewed on resin or cloves. But very few lived past 40 with a full mouth of teeth. There were no dentists. If a tooth became too painful, it was pulled, not in a clinic, but by a blacksmith, a barber, or even a friend. No anesthetic, no clean instruments, just force and a prayer. Now, lift the edge of your hood. Let us talk about hair. Hair in the Middle Ages was rarely washed, especially for women. To wash the head too often was believed to weaken the brain, so instead, they combed and combed. Long, slow strokes through tangled strands, not for vanity, but to remove lice. Everyone had lice. Kings had them. Queens had them. Monks had them beneath their hoods. Children learned to sit patiently as their mothers picked through their scalps, not for style, but survival. Fleas, lice, and nits were constant companions. Itching was part of life. It was never questioned. To shave the head was common in monasteries, a symbol of devotion, but also, in part, a way to limit infestation. Still, the lice returned. They always returned, and when scratching wasn't enough, people dusted their scalps with ashes, or flour, or herbs ground into powder. None of it worked, but they tried, and tried. Because even in a world that did not understand hygiene, people still longed for relief. Take a moment and picture the fabric against your skin. It is not soft, not fresh. It is coarse, worn, stiff with sweat and time. In medieval Europe, most people owned only one set of clothing, sometimes two if they were lucky. Washing clothes was difficult. There were no laundromats, no detergent. Clothes were beaten in rivers, scrubbed with sand or lye, then left to dry on bushes or stones. Wool soaked slowly, linen dried stiff, and the smell. Clothes absorbed everything: smoke from fires, grease from meals, the scent of the body inside them. Changing clothes was a rare occasion. Bathing while naked was considered immodest, so some bathed with garments on. Underwear, if it existed, was often not washed. It was patched, mended, and passed down, and when garments finally fell apart, they were torn into rags, or used as bandages, or burned for warmth. The life of a tunic did not end until it disintegrated. Now, let's speak quietly of the latrine, or more truthfully, upon its absence. In the average medieval home, there was no bathroom. Instead, there was the chamber pot, a ceramic or wooden bowl kept under the bed. It was used in the night, emptied. In the morning, if remembered, many simply tossed the contents out the window. With or without warning, the street became a stream of waste, human, animal, mixed, fermenting beneath the sun. In castles, there were garderobes, long stone chutes leading downward from the outer wall. a bench with a hole above open air. But these, too, were not cleaned. Waste built up at the base, and during sieges, they became breeding grounds for sickness. In monasteries, latrines were communal. 10, sometimes 20 men sitting in silence, surrounded by cold stone and the echo of drops. To use the toilet was not private, not clean, not safe, and in cities, public latrines existed, but were often vandalized or full or dangerous. Many avoided them, and so the waste returned to the earth, to the river, to the streets, and the cycle began again. Breathe in now, gently, and imagine a world where sickness begins beneath your feet. In medieval towns, the ground itself was dangerous. No sewers, no drainage, only mud, straw, and centuries of layered decay. Houses were built atop waste. Rot seeped upward through floorboards. Worms moved freely between the earth and the hearth. Plague was not a mysterious curse. It was inevitable. The Black Death did not fall from the sky. It crawled upward, on the backs of fleas, on the fur of rats. It began where the filth was thickest, in markets, in inns, in bakeries. The baker's hands were clean of flour, but full of bacteria. The butcher's knife was sharp, but never washed. The child playing in the street ran through droplets left behind by 1,000 feet. And when death came, it came quietly. Fever, cough, swelling, and then stillness. Burial was rushed. The ground was shallow. The disease continued, because in a world where hygiene is absent, death finds no obstacles. Night in the Middle Ages arrives not with silence, but with shadows. The village dims, lanterns flicker, and slowly people retreat into homes of wood, wattle, and stone. There is no evening shower, no brushing of teeth, no bedtime routine. The chamber pot is placed nearby. The fire is stoked, just enough to last the chill. A single candle burns, just one, to save wax. People sleep in shifts, 2 periods, first sleep and second sleep, divided by an hour of darkness. During that hour, some pray, some whisper stories, some tend to animals, and some simply wait under wool and straw for sleep to return. But the bed is not a sanctuary of freshness. Lice crawl along seams. The straw mattress is flat, humid, and shared, often with children, sometimes with animals. Few change their linens. Fewer still wash them. The night is long, and the filth of the day lingers quietly between every breath. As the centuries passed, the church's grip on daily life grew tighter. Cleanliness of the body was slowly replaced by cleanliness of the soul. To be clean in spirit meant humility, obedience, modesty. And so, washing the body became suspect. Bathing, especially in public, was linked to vanity, and worse, temptation. Men were told to cleanse the flesh is to welcome sin. Women were told to reveal skin is to invite the devil. Bathhouses were shuttered. Monks bathed only on select holy days. Some saints were praised for never washing at all. St. Thomas of Villanova was said to wear the same tunic until it rotted. St. Agnes reportedly bathed only twice in her life. To be dirty became a mark of purity, and so the Middle Ages sank deeper, not just into filth, but into fear. And for women, hygiene became political. A woman who cared for her appearance and was called prideful. A woman who washed often was called loose. A woman who bled monthly was seen as impure. There was little understanding of the female body. Menstruation was feared, hidden, punished. Women used cloth rags, washed rarely, if ever, or moss, or nothing. They were told not to bathe during their cycle. They were forbidden from entering holy places. They were isolated. Childbirth, too, was seen as unclean. Midwives washed with cold, dirty water, if at all. Surgical tools were never sterilized, and if a woman died in labor, she was mourned, but not examined. There was no autopsy, no search for reason, only silence. Women were expected to be silent, modest, invisible, even in hygiene. And now, dear listener, let us visit the town healer, not a doctor. There were no licensed doctors. For the poor, instead, there was the barber, the herbalist, the priest, the leech collector. All offered remedies. Few offered relief. Sores were burned with hot iron. Tumors were lanced with filthy knives. Fevers were treated with leeches, and all illness was seen as divine punishment. To be sick was to be guilty. Pray harder, they said. Wash not your body but your sins, and so the filth remained, and the people suffered, quietly. The rich did not escape the stench of history, but they hid it better. A noble woman might bathe once a month, or once a season, with rose water or milk. She did not wash with soap, but she wore perfume, heavy floral cloying, to mask the decay. Her hair was powdered with crushed violets, her gloves scented with lavender, her linens perfumed and hung to air, but beneath the surface under her body too was unclean. And for the peasant, there was no perfume, only ash. Ash mixed with water, to scrub, to exfoliate, to cleanse, without cleansing. And when it didn't work, they simply accepted it. Because in a world without expectation, there was no shame in being dirty, only survival. Let us return to something simple. A cloth, a piece of linen held in a child's hands, used to wipe, to clean, to bind. One cloth served 100 purposes. For some, it was a diaper. For others, a wound wrap. For many, a menstrual pad. There were no sanitary products, no disposables. Cloths were rinsed, beaten on rocks, hung, in smoke, but not sterilized. And when they grew too worn, they became rags. For the feet, for the pot, for the body. Even the cloths themselves were shared, between mother and daughter, between birth and death. Picture now, a man, lying. In the corner of a thatched cottage, his skin is pale. His fever is high. His breath is shallow. He is dying not from plague, not from war, but from an infected tooth, a small cut, a bowl of spoiled meat. The room stinks. No windows open. The animals lie near, and the man's family watches, helpless. There is no disinfectant, no hospital, just prayer and waiting. The man shivers, then stills, and by morning, he is cold. His body will be wrapped in the same blanket that warmed him, carried to a shallow grave, buried with the soil and the memories and the filth. He will not be remembered by name, but his story will linger as one of millions. You might imagine a medieval castle as majestic, grand, safe, clean, but the truth was colder. Behind the stone walls was darkness. Windows were narrow, light was scarce, and warmth was a luxury. The great halls echoed with footsteps and secrets, but they also echoed with coughs and groans and the drip of damp stone. Chamber pots lined the walls. Garderobes led to cesspits below, and in the kitchens, rats nibbled at bread loaves. long before servants carried them to the Lord's table. The nobles washed with rosewater, but they slept on louse-infested mattresses. They wore silks, unwashed, furs, unbrushed, jewels, polished, while their skin festered underneath. Even kings smelled of sweat, and even queens scratched at lice. Cleanliness was decoration. Not practice. Castles were not cleaner, only better at pretending. Now return, dear listener, to the peasant's home. Low ceiling, mud floor, straw mattress, a fire, never truly warm. And yet, here, a mother hums as she tends the fire. Here, a father sharpens a tool with steady hands. Here, a child giggles in the corner, chasing a chicken. They do not curse the dirt beneath them. They accept it. They live among it. And sometimes, they rise above it. Cleanliness to them was not about scent or sparkle. It was about kindness, dignity, survival, to share warm bread with a neighbor, to wrap a cloth around a friend's wound, to hold a dying parent's hand. They lived without luxury, but not without love. In the end, clean and dirty were not always opposites. To the devout, to be unwashed was to be humble. Saints wore the same robe until it fell away. Hermits bathed only in rain. Monks walked barefoot for miles. They believed that the body must be neglected, so the soul could shine. And so, the smell of filth became sacred, the sting of lice became holy, and the act of suffering was embraced. Not because it was comfortable, but because it was divine. Now, slowly, return to your own body, your soft bed, your clean sheets, the hum of electricity, the coolness of a shower just minutes away. You have toothbrushes, toilets, towels, soaps with lavender, lemon, mint. You have antibiotics, clean water, hot water you can flush, rinse, scrub, exfoliate. You can light a room with the press of a switch. You are surrounded by miracles so normal, you no longer call them miracles. You are alive, in the cleanest time in history. Tonight, as you rest, remember that not long ago, cleanliness was a dream, a wish, a risk, and now it is your right. Breathe in the quiet comfort of the present. Breathe out the long, hard history that brought you here. Raise a thought for the mothers who bathed their children in cold streams, for the sick who died without soap, for the lovers who kissed through breath that no one judged, and for the countless unnamed who walked through filth and left behind the seeds of progress. Now, dear listener, let the past lie still. Let the streets go quiet. Let the lice fall away. Let the smoke rise and vanish into the night. You are safe now. You are clean. You are warm, and the story has ended. Let your breath slow. Let your eyes grow heavy, and as you drift toward sleep, may you carry with you only what matters: gratitude, gentleness, and the quiet knowing that history was survived, so that you could dream. Good night, rest well, and may your dreams be free of dirt.